I offered her some of my homemade lasagna.
Some lasagna, we serve it with cheese.
Hello friends and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily Reddit content anywhere on the internet. Promise, swearsies, it's just a fact and it's totally science. Go ahead and look it up. Today we've got a return to r/LegbeardStories. Well, these stories were actually posted in my personal subreddit r/ReddX reads, but you know, we're gonna split the difference for the sake of them tags, I guess. We've got user Eli EIO returning with a 3-part series so far. I think it's gonna keep going on, but this is about Undertale leg, and apparently it's kind of edgy, gets kind of deep. I'm not sure completely what to expect. I hope it doesn't get me demonetized, because that was one of the main worries that was presented to me. But I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed and just, you know, be a big brave boy and at least see what we've got here today. So let's get some plugs and disclaimers out of the way, and then we will dive right in to Undertale leg and all the cringe therein. Undertale leg, Part 1, My High School Nightmare. First and foremost, thank you to ReddX for reading some of my previous stories. You have no idea how much that means to me and the pride that I feel hearing my tales narrated by you. Hey man, I appreciate you sharing the stories with us, or else, you know, I have no content. So if you want to see some of Eli EIO's previous content, we've got the alpha neckbeards, and then we've also got a neckbeard that was attacked by a dog in a pet store. So I put those links in the description for you guys if you want to check it out. But I think that this is going to be the magnum opus, at least from what I'm understanding, at least so far. Let's see about it. Hello, fellow neckbeard undergrads. I'm back once more with a story that I was encouraged to share by the lovely members of the ReddX Discord. Nice, subtle plug, nice. This is a tale that's going to be more intense than my others and really requires multiple parts to allow you to fully grasp this unhinged human being. To begin, let me give you our cast list. Bunny, Norwegian fitness junkie. She's fairly passive a lot of the time and pretty good at managing the rest of us idiots. Cat, our resident legbeard, who reeked of cat urine, oh, just like Stealthbeard, but was otherwise fairly pleasant. And Undertale, the woman, the myth, the nightmare. So fair warning, there will be discussions of rape and mentions of kidnapping in this first part, and it really only gets worse from here. So buckle in and hold on to your Bibles, because we are going to take a road trip through hell. Oh God. It all started where most high school memories are made, in the lunchroom. I'm not sure exactly what our discussion was about that day, probably just reading off a god-awful Wattpad book in an overdramatic fashion. 'Twas the era of werewolves, after all. That was when our dear friend Kat suddenly walked up with a person that none of us had seen before. Undertale wasn't your typical legbeard, if I'm being completely honest. She was actually rather pretty, if a bit smelly. She had an odd sense of dress, wearing a bunch of mismatched anime clothing that somehow worked when you put it all together. She had these gray eyes that were genuinely stunning and really held your attention. She, however, was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Cat, hey guys, I was wondering if my new friend could sit with us today. Bunny, oh, of course. Hi, I'm Bunny. OP, I'm Eli. Undertale, I'm Undertale. Undertale's voice was sort of raspy and small. It made you wonder if she was sick, but she wasn't. Well, at least not physically. Her and Cat sat next to me, Undertale picking at her food for the entire lunch, only taking a couple of small bites. The school lunch is pretty shitty, and I always overpacked, so in a rare moment of food-related generosity, I offered her some of my homemade lasagna. OP, here, if you want, you can have this extra slice. Undertale,
Really? You're so kind, senpai.
To clarify, having someone call you senpai is not weird at my school. This really wasn't a huge red flag. The red flag came when she ate hungrily and then turned to look me right in the face and say, Undertale,
"You're so nice, and this is way better than the school stuff. Maybe I should lock you up and make you my personal chef."
She proceeded to do one of those over-exaggerated giggles, and I just laughed awkwardly. The next few lunches were equally awkward, with her making increasingly uncomfortable remarks about me. Things like,
"Your skin looks so touchable.
and
I just love seeing how brightly I can make you blush."
now, I'm not and wasn't a pushover. I didn't take shit and told Undertale off. Kat got mad at me and said Undertale was autistic and that she needed some gentle guidance and help. I didn't really care for that excuse, but I did try to word things even more directly. Things came to a head when Undertale slid up very close to me at lunch, leaned in close, and whispered, Undertale,
"Have you ever had something shoved inside you, OP? I think you'd be really cute begging someone to stop."
oh God. I stood abruptly hearing that and just shook my head as I left the cafeteria. I went straight to the security officer, who promptly told me not to worry, and he dragged her off to the principal, kicking and screaming. This is long enough, so I'm just going to end part 1 here. Thank you for reading, and remember to drink some water and eat a fruit, just to switch some things up. Aw boy, OP, you fed them, and now they're never gonna leave. That's just how these things work. Now, I don't know if she actually is autistic or not. That is one of those things that needs to be approached with some caution. But regardless of if she is or not, it's not really an excuse for bad behavior. You signed the social contract by being born just like everybody else, so, just try and cool it. None of the stuff she said would really make me blush, like touchable skin. Okay, that's kind of Silence of the Lambsy. Until we get up to that last sentence, like struggling with something inside you. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Please don't talk about that. We can't be friends anymore. That is one sentence that will make me leave the friend group. I'm gonna take whoever I can with me, but if Kat insists on keeping this Undertale girl around, then I don't know if I can sign off on that. You only get so many lunch times in this world, and I ain't spending them here. Anyways, I guess we'll see how things devolve even more in part 2. Undertale Part 2, Forced Friendship. Previous part we just read. Hello, fellow Neckbeard undergrads. I'm back with part 2 of Undertale's story. Our cast list changes a bit this time with 2 new additions. KK, who was one of Undertale's minions. He was a neckbeard, of course, who would worship the ground that we walked on. Stud was the other minion. He was pretty much a bully who enjoyed trying to intimidate others. We left off my last story with Undertale being dragged away, kicking and screaming to the office. You may ask, OP, did she get any serious consequences? Was she maybe suspended? To answer your questions, nothing happened. Yeah. As a kid with autism, she was given a brief talk. However, someone did get in trouble. I was brought in and screamed at by her teacher. He accused me of bullying her and threatened to call my mom. Now, my mom is a teacher as well, and I believed she would be more likely to believe a fellow teacher than to believe me, and I begged him not to call her. He agreed on one condition. I had to be a friend to Undertale. I could practically hear the funeral march playing, but I accepted his terms. Now that I'm older, I wish he would have just called my mom. Knowing her, she would have ripped him to shreds for being an idiot, but hindsight's 20/20, and my nightmare was only just beginning. Undertale sat with us at lunch, again, much to the surprise of Bunny. Kat was overjoyed that we were
all friends
and kept talking about
setting our differences aside.
Oh, Cat. Ever the optimist. I kept talking to a very bare bones minimum, mostly one-word answers. Undertale took these as signs that I was, of course, her new best friend. So she would blab to me for the entire lunch period and then follow me to class to keep talking. What did she talk about? You guessed it, the hit indie game Undertale, which is actually a pretty freaking cool game, but fandoms ruin everything, okay? That's just how it works. I would highly suggest liking things, but not ever becoming a fan of things. You know what I mean? But I can't live your life for you. She had a series hard-on for a skeleton named Sans, and would go on and on and on about him. Even if I didn't talk, she would just keep going. The stench of BO and heat of large bodies already made the walk to class horrendous. I did not need to hear about this skeleton that she wanted to bang out. I found my comfort during these trying times in writing at lunch in my notebook. Of course, this drew our Legbeard's attention, and she would constantly ask
what I was writing about.
I gave vague answers and danced around the questions. I didn't want her to invade my one escape from her, and I guarded that notebook with my life. Undertale was exceptionally curious, however, and she decided that
she needed some help.
So she called upon her minions. They came one day to our table and sat down on both sides of her, and I immediately knew what would be happening. KK, what you writing? OP, stuff. Stud, stuff. Like what stuff? OP, just stuff. KK, well, then you wouldn't mind if Undertale took a look. Stud proceeded to reach across the table and try to grab my notebook. I pulled it away, but he wasn't a small guy. He wasn't tall, but he was heavy set, and a lot stronger than I was, incidentally. He pulled away and handed it to his beloved Undertale, who looked so insufferably smug that I wanted to punch her teeth in. She began to read over the pages, and then put the notebook into her backpack. Jesus, what a jerk. OP, give it back, Undertale. It's not yours. Undertale,
well, I want to read and I'm not done yet, so I'll give it back when I'm done.
Bunny, Undertale, you can't just stud. Shut up! Bunny, excuse me? Don't tell me to shut up. Bunny stood up, and Stud seemed to realize that he had bitten off more than he could chew. Cat just sat awkwardly and shifted around in her seat. There was this air of tension before Undertale promptly took off, like a full sprint out of the lunchroom. I hope it was a Naruto run. I never saw that notebook fully intact again. The horrors inside will be posted in the next part. Thank you for reading, and remember to eat a vegetable and drink some water. I guess I can buy that Undertale Leg would have some neckbeard minions surrounding her, especially considering that OP mentioned that she was a good-looking girl in the first part. So, you know, these neckbeards, they thirsty. They just trying to get a little sippy sip. Cuddle up next to her and such. But unfortunately, she only has a boner for Sans. I'm into skeletons. I'm big into skeletons. Oh boy. It kind of reminds me of the notebook in the Namikun saga where Ramtide steals the notebook away. The book of spells. Except this time OP is having the book stolen, and it ain't a book of spells. It's just a tactic that he's using to try and divert attention away from himself, which apparently has completely blown up in his face. It did nothing but gain attention, which is unfortunate, but at least OP hints towards seeing the notebook again, albeit somewhat defaced. I guess we'll see just how badly defaced in the next part right now. Undertale Part 3. What do you mean you're right about skeletons boning? Get it? Get it? Because they're made of bones and they... Never mind. Hello, Neckbeard undergrads. 'Tis I, the man without a plan, and your very long-suffering narrator. Since my workplace has become more concerned with my safety, they sent me home for 2 days while they figure out the camera situation, which gives me time to bring you the next part of the Undertale saga. I'm gonna have to ask you what you mean by that in Discord, because I don't know what you're talking about. I'm glad you're getting some time off, OP. More stories for us. That's always nice. I hope you're enjoying it. The cast stays the same, excluding the appearance of my father, being a decent parent for once. Dang, shots fired at Dad? More questions arise. Warnings for sexual content and mentions of, oh, stepbrother, what are you doing? Oh no. The next day, after Undertale didn't make an appearance, I went to a different teacher to try asking for help with getting my notebook off of Undertale. Unfortunately, this teacher basically told me she'd tell her to give it back, but besides that, there really wasn't a ton that she could do. I was devastated, and when I was waiting for my dad to drive me home, I was in tears. I wasn't like a crybaby or anything, but that notebook was just incredibly important to me, and the fact that I most likely wouldn't be getting it back ever was genuinely soul-crushing. My dad noticed and was genuinely concerned. Dad, Eli, what happened? OP, some kid stole my notebook, and the teachers don't think they can get it back. Dad, really? Don't cry and snot about it. I'll try and figure this out. My dad isn't a very nice person, in complete honesty. He has a hard time showing his feelings and emotions, but if nothing else, he does care about his kids. A bit. When we got home, he went to our barn and made a phone call. He came back inside, patted my shoulder, and just kind of smiled before he went to his room. The next day, I was called into the principal's office. I was pretty surprised because I hadn't done anything to get in trouble, but when I walked in there, Undertale was sitting in a seat, already teary-eyed and snotty-nosed, and on the desk was a shredded and torn notebook. Principal,
Eli, you're not in trouble. I got a call from your father last night about some stolen property.
OP, my notebook? Principal,
Yes, Undertale has returned it, unharmed.
shredded and torn, also unharmed. I looked at the notebook on the table and my gut dropped. OP, that's not how it looked when she took it. Principal,
Undertale, tell me the truth. Is this the notebook you took?
Undertale,
Yes, I just dropped it in a creek on my way home.
Principal,
Well, you should have said that in the first place. Eli, why don't you take your notebook for now and go to class? I'm going to have a conversation with Undertale.
Undertale began to wail, and I took my once intact notebook full of stories and walked to class. I sat through 2 classes, my mind racing over what could possibly be left of my notebook. Did she put anything in there? Did she just leave it? I had no idea. When lunch came, I had to have my answer. I can't believe you didn't just open that notebook up in class, OP. That is an exceptional amount of patience. I would have checked it immediately. But yeah, I guess maybe. Then it gets taken away by a teacher. It's probably a lot harder to get back than from some weird kid. I sat at my lunch table a bit early, settled in, and began to read. Oh, how I wish I had just thrown that notebook away. Undertale did in fact write in my notebook. She drew in it too. Can you guess what fine art she put in my sacred notebook, dear reader? She put Undertale porn. Specifically about 2 characters who are brothers ducking. Ducking? That's not too bad. You just gotta watch out for your knees. No, I know what you meant. Well, one of them was clearly underage. She also wrote about her desires to
Have a pet that would do nothing but sexually satisfy her and let her do whatever she wanted with.
and this included drawings of a person that was tied up and blindfolded, locked in a cage with dildos lying around them. Oh no. I closed the cursed texts, my now cursed notebook, and put it in my backpack. I felt unclean. And the fact that she wrote and drew all of that in my notebook, it was disturbing, to say the very least. I'm gonna cut it short because now I feel a need to shower and maybe get a baptism or two. Remember to drink some water and eat a vegetable. Oh boy, here we go again with the warlock mate bonds. Always with the warlock mate bonds. Is this part of the ritual? I think this might be part of the ritual. This Legbeard is definitely a handful, and I do wish that we had a part 4 to dive into, but we don't quite yet. But I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting and lurking. I do kind of want to know more about why OP is so attached to this notebook. Honestly, I probably would have pitched it. It's torn, it's ratty, it's disgusting, and now it's got unholy acts being depicted inside of it. It's done. It's over. I throw it away. I buy a new one. That's fine. It's pretty obvious to me that Undertale has a much darker side to her. It kind of reminds me of that castration beard, Nadia. Did you guys watch that video? Oh my god, that was one of the worst Legbeard, probably the worst Legbeard I have ever seen. But Undertale Leg definitely holds some of that disgustingness in her heart as well. Not necessarily a fantasy that horrible, but maybe. That's all I can really say. Who knows what is actually going on? If this is the stuff she decides is okay to share with the world. Oh man. I do get a little bit worried for OP. I mean, obviously OP comes out of this alive, but I really hope that you don't come out of this scarred for life. Because as we've learned in most beard tales, neckbeards and or legbeards are not to be underestimated. Sure, they look like funny clowns and whatnot, but the desperation inside them can usually spawn something dangerous. So, keep your head on a swivel, OP. I hope everything turns out for you. And if you guys did enjoy this episode, I hope that you will like, comment, and or subscribe on the video. Maybe share it around if you know somebody that needs a cringe. I don't know about a laugh. We did have some laughs along the way, but man, it was definitely more cringe than laughs at this point. Woo! I can't imagine how it's gonna go in part 4. Goodness. I also hope you check out the links in the description. Channel character animations done by Darkly Studios over on Twitter. We got ReddX Reads, my personal subreddit where these stories came from. My wifey's channel, Mr. and Mrs. ReddX. Yes, indeed. Teespring if you're trying to rock the merch. We also got my Amazon affiliate link. Currently, it goes to my microphone. But if you go through there and buy basically anything else on Amazon, it kicks me a couple of bucks, which is pretty cool. We've also got the social medias, Twitters and Discords and Facebooks. Oh, and my gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful, generous patrons. Yes, indeed. I would like to thank them all, but specifically, Zero MMX, Lady Nix, Robert Waite, Cider Drinker, Tato Fair, The Last Shinobi, Mark 211, Aaron W, Mitch, John Hero, Candy Sora, Fire Drake, Little Lone Wolf, Miss Monday, Silent Revolver, JM Coon, Leon Embers, TSM Kirby, Redwind, Synaptic Boomstick, Jerry, Staples, Yeet, Cake Jerry, that's a different Jerry. That one, Nick, Tamago, and that big, delicious jelly donut. Thank you guys so much for helping to support the channel. This is an edgy video. This video might get demonetized, but we can't really tell until we get it up there. If it does happen, I thank my patrons so much for helping me to kind of circumvent it in some sort of way. Obviously, if you can join them in supporting, that is massively appreciated. Thank you so much in advance. But if you can't right now, don't sweat it too hard, friends. I just appreciate you coming on through, hanging out with me, and I hope that you come on back and hang out with me again tomorrow. Because really,
the views is how my beard stays buttered.
Buttery leg beard. Keep yourself safe out there. Definitely wash your hands, but also take some time out and do something that you personally enjoy today. Maybe watch some more ReddX videos. Oh, we got so many Legbeard stories over there. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, and you definitely deserve it. I shall see you in the next one. And until then, bye-bye.